The site of the Ferris wheel known as the Singapore Eye bids you a very warm welcome to Singapore, and in particular the Marina Bay circuit for round 17 of the 2015 TCR International Series. Hello everyone, this is Mark James in the commentary box, welcoming you to an historic moment. The first time, we believe, that a night race has formed part of an international touring car championship, and what a night race. We are back with Formula One for the third time this year after starting at Sepang and then the two races at Shanghai. We're now back with Formula One for these two races, this first night race this evening and then tomorrow's daytime race. Opening proceedings at the Marina Bay track, and also historic for the fact that we have the largest grids in the TCR series so far. 22 cars forming up on the grid, and yes, I did say 22 cars. If you've been following TCR International on Facebook and Twitter, you'll know that one of the cars had all sorts of problems arriving here at Singapore. I'm delighted to say, and I'm sure the team are hugely relieved to say, that the car has overcome its transport difficulties. It landed in Seoul in Korea yesterday, made the trip to Kuala Lumpur in Malaysia overnight, was driven down from Kuala Lumpur, and it will be starting from the back of the grid. But we'll talk more about that in a moment, because we have to talk about the men at the head of the field. Stefano Camini on pole position for round 17 of the TCR International Series. And that pole position means he edges back into the lead of the Drivers' Series by just 2 points. Gianni Morbidelli, his great championship rival, alongside him on the grid. No love lost between those two men, as I'm sure you'll be aware if you've been with us all year. Kevin Gleeson, Morbidelli's Honda West Coast Racing teammate, third on the grid alongside Sergei Avanasiev in the Lukoil Craft Bamboo Seat. Then it's Pepe Oriola, then a new named TCR, Loris Hezemans, a famous name in touring car racing. Young 18-year-old Loris Hezemans, a sensation here, quickest in the first section of qualifying, qualified 6th. He'll be more than happy with that. And then if we look down towards the back of the grids, the reason that we have 22 cars is that the new TCR Asia series, which launched 2 weeks ago at Sepang, their cars join us on the grid, and that man I mentioned, Luca Rangoni, in the Subaru TCR car, making its debut in the series. An enormous amount of hard work going on behind the scenes, not just with the top run team from Italy, but with the shippers, with customs people, and even the police here in Singapore, giving the car an escort through the streets in an attempt to get here to the circuit. It's all worked. Luca Rangoni, having not seen the circuit, not being able to take part in the testing yesterday, and so rather anxious, to put it mildly. But there, right at the back of the grid, the blue, familiar blue colour, if you'll remember from the days when Subaru were in World Rallying, the Impreza, or should I say the Subaru WRX TCR, to give it its proper title, makes it onto the grid. There is a gap on the grid just ahead of the Subaru. We'll try and examine that in a moment. But one of the other cars I'm hoping to talk about, which is in fact the car that's missing by the look of things, is Kenneth Ma in the Ford Focus. We've seen that car at the beginning of the year. It had all sorts of teething troubles, being run, built by Onyx Motorsport in the UK. It's now been taken over by FRD in Hong Kong. Kenneth Ma is driving the car, at least should be driving the car here in Singapore, but it is missing from the grid. Whether it starts from the pit lane, I don't yet know. It's that my timing screen is telling me that it is in the pits. Whether it'll start from the pit lane remains to be seen. But we're looking down at the front row of the grid. On the left-hand side of your screen, the brand new Seat Leon of Stefano Camini. Hugely relieved to be here in Singapore, because it looked only a matter of weeks ago as though his season was at an end because of budget difficulties, but he's here. Huge thanks, he says, to the team, the Target Competition team, for getting him here. And there you see, on the right-hand side of your screen, the Honda Civic of Gianni Morbidelli. Then it's Kevin Gleeson, row 2, alongside Sergei Avanasiev. And then Pepe Oriola, who until earlier today was leading the series in the number 74 Seat, saying that he got stuck behind Lorenzo Veglia on his quick lap in qualifying, but he's lost the championship lead by only a couple of points to Camini. But Pepe Oriola, quickest in both free practice sessions here yesterday, and so immediately laying down a marker, despite the fact that he's carrying 30 kilos of success ballast. Pepe Oriola determined that he will be taking a useful points haul away from Singapore. And you see there weaving the blue Impreza. That does look a really sorted car, I have to say. That looks really good. Of course, we've not had any chance to see it. Luca Rangoni hugely frustrated, as were the remainder of the top run team, in the non-appearance of the car. But he's there, he's had a look at the circuit, no more than that really, and the decision made that because of the extenuating circumstances beyond the team's control, the car able to take the start. So 6 brands represented here in Singapore. And I'm still seeing that Kenneth Marr is in the pit lane. There is the drivers' points table. Stefano Camini, 2 points ahead of Pepe Oriola now. Jordi Genet in 3rd place. Gianni Morbidelli, 38 points behind Camini in 4th. And then Kevin Gleeson and Andrea Bellicchi, who's not here, as is Michel Nukier. Really, it's now a 4-way. Oh, that's the Campos Racing Opel Astra, the second car, and that's had all problems throughout the weekend. Mak Hing Tak from Hong Kong, and trashing the car on the green flag lap. Let's see if we can see that. And you've no idea why that happened. There's absolutely no excuse for that. So the Campos Racing team, in theory, running 2 cars. There goes Tak's car, tucked away by the marshals. But one of the other cars I'm hoping to talk about, which is, in fact, the car that's missing by the look of things, is Kenneth Marr in the Ford Focus. We've seen that car at the beginning of the year. It had all sorts of teething troubles, being run, built by Onyx Motorsport in the UK. It's now been taken over by FRD in Hong Kong. Kenneth Marr is driving the car, at least should be driving the car here in Singapore, but it is missing from the grid. Whether it starts from the pit lane, I don't yet know. It's my timing screen is telling me that it is in the pits. Whether it'll start from the pit lane remains to be seen. But we're looking down at the front row of the grid. On the left-hand side of your screen, the brand new Seat Leon of Stefano Camini. Hugely relieved to be here in Singapore, because it looked only a matter of weeks ago as though his season was at an end because of budget difficulties, but he's here. Huge thanks, he says, to the team, the Target Competition team, for getting him here. And there you see, on the right-hand side of your screen, the Honda Civic of Gianni Morbidelli. Then it's Kevin Gleeson, row 2, alongside Sergei Afanasiev. And then Pepe Oriola, who until earlier today was leading the series in the number 74 Seat, saying that he got stuck behind Lorenzo Veglia on his quick lap in qualifying, but he's lost the championship lead by only a couple of points to Camini. But Pepe Oriola, quickest in both free practice sessions here yesterday, and so immediately laying down a marker, despite the fact that he's carrying 30 kilos of success ballast. Pepe Oriola determined that he will be taking a useful points haul away from Singapore. And you see there weaving the blue Impreza. That does look a really sorted car, I have to say. That looks really good. Of course, we've not had any chance to see it. Luca Rangoni hugely frustrated, as were the remainder of the top run team, in the non-appearance of the car. But he's there, he's had a look at the circuit, no more than that really, and the decision made that because of the extenuating circumstances beyond the team's control, the car able to take the start. So 6 brands represented here in Singapore. And I'm still seeing that Kenneth Marr is in the pit lane. There is the drivers' points table. Stefano Camini, 2 points ahead of Pepe Oriola now. Jordi Genet in 3rd place. Gianni Morbidelli, 38 points behind Camini in 4th. And then Kevin Gleeson and Andrea Bellicchi, who's not here, as is Michel Nukier. Really, it's now a four-way. Oh, that's the Campos Racing Opel Astra, the second car, and that's had all problems throughout the weekend. Mak Hing Tak from Hong Kong, and trashing the car on the green flag lap. Let's see if we can see that. And you've no idea why that happened. There's absolutely no excuse for that. So the Campos Racing team, in theory, running two cars. There goes Tak's car, tucked away by the marshals. And so we're now down already to 20 cars, with Kenneth Ma's Ford Focus, it would appear, unable to take the start. So Campos Racing then, their hopes now squarely in the hands of Fernando Monge, the team's sporting director. His best result this year, third place in Monza. So clearly the car, when it works, is capable of scoring some useful points. But again, like the Ford, there is Monge. The Opel is having all sorts of teething troubles during the year. So 22 cars then, 11 Seats, 5 Hondas, 2 Volkswagens, the Ford I mentioned, 1 Subaru, 2 Opels, but that Ford and one of the Opels already casualties before we've even taken the start. And this night race in slightly cooler conditions than we've had all day. Air temperatures have been in the low to mid 30s. Air temperature currently is around 28 degrees with 79% humidity, to give you an idea. It's an extremely sapping combination, and the drivers and the cars will be suffering from the heat. But of course, tomorrow, in the heat of the afternoon, things will be so much worse for the cars and the drivers. And that, we look through the brief tunnel, another unique feature of the Singapore race. That's the sequence from turns 18 and 19 underneath that tunnel, which is actually a grandstand over the track. You have to say, the backdrop to this race, you can get an idea of it from some of the cameras that look down at this Marina Bay circuit. Turns 22 and 23 there, getting us back onto the start-finish straight at the end of this 5-kilometer lap, as the cars roll quietly up to take their starting positions. And unbelievably, considering that Stefano Camini leads the Drivers' Championship, this is his first pole position of the year. And he was absolutely delighted earlier on. So an amazing spectacle then, this night race, the brilliant lighting illuminating the track right the way around, as Luca Rangoni, I'm sure, must be holding all of the hopes of the Top Run team in his fingers. And I suppose this would be his shakedown, almost his test, with any issues that he comes across this evening being sorted out tomorrow morning before the cars take to the track for the second time. So still our largest grid of the year, despite those 2 non-starters. 20 cars take the start. We're waiting for the lights to come on. There's the green flag. All the cars are in position. Rangoni has a gap alongside him, gap in front of him. What can he do? We're racing along. Away goes Camini. It appears that he's made a better start. Indeed he has. Also Kevin Gleeson going through. Gleeson alongside Camini. Gianni Morbidelli already struggling. It would appear that it's Avanasiev. No, indeed, it's Oriola that's alongside Morbidelli. So Oriola made a better start than his teammate Avanasiev, but it's Camini who's made the best start of all, with Kevin Gleeson, the American driver, in the West Coast Racing Honda alongside him. Then it's Oriola, already through. Contact there. Oriola through into third place, ahead of Morbidelli, who'll be furious at that. And there's contact behind. Frank Yu, that was in the background from Hong Kong, in one of the Craft Bamboo cars. As the leaders go through, And it would appear that there's already a gap caused by that incident involving Frank Yu. Oriola just getting nudged, I think, from Morbidelli. So around halfway through this first lap of 10, Comini leads from Gleeson, from Oriola, from Morbidelli, from Afanasiev. Mikhail Grachov we've hardly spoken about this weekend in the first of the Liqui Moly Engstler Volkswagen Golfs. Lorenzo Veglia in the team's Sol Seat. Then Jordi Genet, Loris Hezemans I mentioned earlier. Then Fernando Monge in the Opel 10th. And then Thomas Engstrom in the second of the Liqui Moly Engstler Golfs. He's on pole position for tomorrow's race. 12th currently, Rene Munich returning to the series after starting the year for West Coast Racing and then off to do his bit in the FIA World Rallycross Championship. But Rene Munich, part of the amazing 1-2-3 for West Coast Racing in Shanghai. And Felipe de Souza, the Macau driver, pulling in to the marshal's post. So another casualty. But we're looking at the leaders. Stefano Comini from Kevin Gleeson, from Pepe Oriola, Gianni Morbidelli, Sergei Afanasiev, you saw briefly, through turn 18. And it's the left-hander into the tunnel at turn 18 that's been catching out quite a few of the drivers. The conditions here, very difficult to predict. Most people expecting conditions to get, track conditions to get much more grippy for qualifying because of the amount of rubber laid down by the Formula One cars while they've been out, but that just didn't happen. And so asking the drivers what they thought would happen in the slightly cooler night air this evening, and also it looks like second place has changed hands. Let's just quickly look back at that. Was that Morbidelli or was it Gleeson? No, indeed, car 24 is Gleeson, although Oriola's having a look. Oriola just trying to look up the inside of Kevin Gleeson, but failing. So still Stefano Comini pulling away from Kevin Gleeson in second place. Pepe Oriola third, Gianni Morbidelli fourth. There you see in the background Afanasiev in the red Craft Bamboo Lukoil Seat, currently in fifth place. As again, Oriola just jinks out, and can he just get past Kevin Gleeson? Indeed he can. He edges out the Honda driver. There's possibly the slightest contact between the pair, but Gleeson's certainly not giving up. He comes back around the right-hander, forcing Oriola out. And indeed, Morbidelli up alongside as well in the number 10 car. And Morbidelli taking full advantage of that. So indeed, still Gleeson in second. Now it's Morbidelli third. Then furious Pepe Oriola, I suspect, in fourth. Afanasiev fifth. That's what happens when you leave the door open just a fraction when you've got someone like Gianni Morbidelli around. Right, let's take another look at that start. There you see the gaps going down the field. And it would appear, just looking at the head-on shot, that Morbidelli did make a decent start. But of course, Comini moves across. Gleeson comes up almost alongside Comini into turn one and just gets past his teammate, and that's the position where, using all of the track and a bit more beside, is where Pepe Oriola moves up. And that's the bumping and banging that we saw. One of the Craft Bamboo cars, that of Oriola, just getting slightly sideways thanks to that contact. And then that's where Frank Yu, we didn't see the full contact, but Frank Yu spinning across the track, that's what caused the demise of Felipe de Souza from Macau. Car 66, the distinctive gold Seat Leon, run by the Roadstar Racing team. Body damage to the car, and that's Frank Yu. So is that a separate incident, or is that, I suspect, a separate incident with Yu running at the back of the field? So Rangoni, to his surprise, I suspect, started 20th and is now 16th. But that's our leaderboard. Still Comini from the two Hondas of Gleeson and Morbidelli. Oriola fourth. Afanasiev, Grachov, Genet and Veglia. But look, already a 2.1 second advantage. We're only on lap 3 of 10 for Stefano Comini. And that, the red, white and blue colours, the national colours of Holland, that's Loris Hezemans' car. And Hezemans' car, something special, the 100th Seat Leon racer to be built by the Seat Sport guys at Martorell near Barcelona. It's the car with which Hezemans won his first ever appearance in the Seat Leon Euro Cup, and possibly as a result of that performance, the decision was taken to compete here at Singapore. Around the left-hand hairpin at turn 13 onto this back straight. There is Camini, our leader. There is Gleeson with Morbidelli, just reminding his teammate who's the man that's going for the Drivers' Series. I'm sure Morbidelli's also on the radio to the team, saying, come on, guys, I'm the one who needs the points. And was that a slight mistake from Morbidelli? Maybe he's letting the pressure get to him a little. He did say earlier on that he was struggling from a combination of the jet lag and a head cold through the tunnel, as Camini is pulling even further away. 2.1 seconds the gap, remember, at the end of the previous lap. There's confirmation that Rangoni is up to 15th now. Must be slightly surprised at that position in just 3 laps, but hopefully settling down and seeing what the car can do. Morbidelli moves out to defend from Oriola, allowing Gleeson just to pull slightly further ahead. Oriola taking a look. Not that many places to overtake here on the Marina Bay circuit because of the very tight circuit, and also the walls, quite intimidating. We've already seen contact with some of the F1 cars in their qualifying session earlier. But it would appear that Gleeson is pulling away from Morbidelli, who's obviously at the moment more concerned about that charging Oriola behind him. Morbidelli just setting the quickest lap of the race so far. Those gaps, certainly the gap from Camini to Gleeson, remaining at about 2 seconds or thereabouts. Morbidelli still third, Oriola fourth, Avanasiev fifth, Grachov sixth, Genet seventh, Valia eighth, then Loris Hezemans ninth, Fernando Monge 10th, then Thomas Engstrom 11th, then René Munich 12th. Another name we've hardly mentioned is Rafael Galeana in the third of the target competition cars. Galeana is the man who came up with the Tech Pro barrier system, which is used at so many circuits, including here at Marina Bay. He's in the blue target competition car. Camini in the green front end, white rear end target competition car. There he is, the left-hand side of your screen. Target competition running 3 cars, very different in colour schemes to the ones that we've been used to this year. So at the moment, 2 of the West Coast Racing Hondas, second and third. The third outside the points at the moment. René Munich down in 12th. So Galeana, I mentioned, in 13th place. Then it's Michael Choi, the first of the TCR Asia runners, in 14th. Then Luca Rangoni in the Subaru, 15th. And we've got, 1, 2, 3 cars behind Rangoni. So he is picking his way through the back of the field and learning all the time about that Subaru. Grachov defending from Genet. Genet looking at Grachov's 6th place. There is Hezemans. And who opened quite a few eyes by going quickest in qualifying 1, and really on the ragged edge in qualifying 2, throwing the car through the last few corners, getting it really sideways, and then finally breaking the front right suspension after clouting a curb too hard. Valia then, Hezemans. The pair half a second or so apart. There you see the gap between Avanasiev and Grachov on your screen, just under a second. halfway through this first race. We're on lap 5. It seems that Gianni Morbidelli still can't get past Kevin Gleeson, although that's a position that the team may well have an input on. So Gleeson then still second, Morbidelli third. There's Oriola across the bridge. Morbidelli has a look. And has he done? No, indeed. Gleeson holds on. Surely somebody from West Coast must be saying, guys, we can't risk having two non-finishes. Don't fight each other. Oriola takes a quick look up at the inside, possibly while Morbidelli's distracted. Oriola all over the back of the Honda at the moment. Can he move past Gianni Morbidelli? He certainly seems to think so. Has another look. Oriola still hassling Morbidelli as Gleeson takes his chance to just ease away slightly while Morbidelli is defending his position from the Seat. Through turn 19 they go. '20 and 21 come in quick succession, then it's the double left-hander at 22 and 23, which gets us back onto the start-finish straight at the end of lap 5. It's an amazing shot, gives you an idea of the atmosphere surrounding this incredible spectacle that is the night race at Singapore. And the first street race, the first entirely street race of the season for the TCR International Series. At Sochi in Russia, it was, I was going to say 50-50, but not even that. It's a part of the circuit that's on a street circuit. But this, and of course the final rounds this year in Macau, pure street circuits. Again, Oriola just has a little look, not close enough to Morbidelli to make it stick, while we look down at Genet just getting past. Indeed he does. Genet passes Valia for 7th place. Indeed, sorry, that was Genet attacking Grachov, so Grachov moves back down to 7th, Genet up into 6th. So the three Liqui Moly Engstler cars running together. It's Volkswagen Seat. Excuse me, the third car in that train was Hezemans in the predominantly white Seat. As we still look at, and again the battle goes on. Hezemans takes a look at the back of Valia. Engstrom in the second of the Volkswagens down in 11th place. So Hezemans again taking a look at the back of Valia, getting all over the back of the, in theory, identical car. Valia's car run by Team Engstler, the Liqui Moly team. And its target competition, as I mentioned earlier, responsible for Hezemans' car. And the team also having cars out this weekend in the Seat Leon Euro Cup at the Nürburgring. The gap opening up slightly between Valia and Hezemans. Valia now taking a look at his teammate, Grachov, in the Golf. And you'll recall, before the summer break, it was a stunning debut for the Golf at the Red Bull Ring in Austria. Paul Rosé, responsible for a lot of the testing work on the Golf and the development work. Pole on the second race and converting pole position to a race victory. So the Golf victorious on its first race outing in the TCR International Series. Here the two cars are currently 7th and 11th. There goes Morbidelli, Oriola. And Grachov and Valia now. Oh, contact between the two teammates. Valia just touching the back of Grachov's car. Grachov forced to run over the curbs. And that little tussle allows Hezemans to close right back up on the back of Valia's car. So this three-way scrap between the two Liqui Moly cars, one Golf, one Seat, and the Seat of Hezemans. And this is the scrap for 7th, 8th and 9th places. Genet off into the distance already. But Grachov forced to defend from his teammate, who in turn is coming under pressure from Loris Hezemans, determined to make a name for himself on his first outing in the TCR International Series. 9th currently and in the points. And you see what I mean about the walls here. Very unforgiving if you get things wrong. So already out. 4 cars. Frank Yu, though, we saw earlier involved in those spins. The architect from Hong Kong competing in the TCR Asia Series was with us at the beginning of the year in Sepang, but Frank Yu at the moment in 17th place. Luca Rangoni, I haven't mentioned him for a couple of laps, up to 15th still in the Subaru and still going there. You saw a brief flash of the surviving Opel Astra of Fernando Monge, currently 10th and in the points, as this scrap still goes on. Grachoff from Valia, from Hesemans. And it's almost who's going to blink first. There you see the stats. Valia losing ground ever so slightly. And this is the scrap now for the lead, and almost unnoticed, Kevin Gleeson up alongside Stefano Comini. What's happened there? Because Comini was 2 seconds clear of Gleeson. Comini's got a problem. I'm almost convinced of it. From pulling away from Gleeson, Comini's been caught and passed by the Honda, and Morbidelli is almost within touching distance as well. Kevin Gleeson, possibly a slightly surprised leader, but I don't think Comini's made any mistakes. I think it may be a problem with the car. Brand new, remember, for this race in Singapore. And I'm hearing that the car sounds slightly rough, although almost impossible to hear that on the television sound. Now, this is the moment that Kevin Gleeson snatched the lead from Stefano Comini. Comini running wide on the turn 23, back onto the start-finish straight, allowing Gleeson just to power past. No contact between the two. A clean overtaking maneuver by Kevin Gleeson. And so, the West Coast Racing Honda of Kevin Gleeson leads the 17th round of the 2015 TCR International Series from our early leader, Stefano Comini. As the management from West Coast Racing, who are now concentrating on this scrap for 2nd place. Gianni Morbidelli now all over the back of Comini's car, with Oriola also involved in that scrap. As Gleeson pulls away, Comini, Morbidelli and Oriola running as a train. And what on earth has happened to Comini? Trying to get word from our guys out on the circuit as to whether the car still sounds slightly rough or whether it's sorted itself out. He seems to be holding his own at the moment. In fact, he seems to be pulling away slightly from Gianni Morbidelli, who's got Pepe Oriola to worry about. So was that a glitch that sorted itself out? We'll only know after the race, and we'll bring you that news in the build-up to race 2 tomorrow as Oriola takes a look at Morbidelli. So this is the scrap for 3rd now as Comini pulls away. Morbidelli once again having to defend as Oriola tries to go the long way round. Not surprisingly, fails to make that stick. Morbidelli then hangs on to 3rd place. Honda Seat is the top 4 at the moment. And again, Oriola takes a look up the inside for this right-hander. Morbidelli holds the line, though. There again goes Oriola. Back markers then, so the leaders are in traffic. But indeed, Morbidelli holds off Pepe Oriola, but for how much longer? And at the bottom of your screen, just exiting, Comini coming back at Gleeson. So whatever the issue was seems to have sorted itself out. You have to wonder how hot temperatures are in that car, as it looks like Pepe Oriola's almost got the line. Not quite. Gianni Morbidelli just closes the door once again on Oriola. So it's Gleeson who leads from Kamini, Morbidelli third, Oriola fourth, Avanasiev still fifth from Genet, Grachov, Valia and Hazemans, no change there in the positions. Fernando Monge still in 10th place ahead of René Munich and Thomas Engström. Galeana still 13th and Rangoni in the Subaru 15th. So two fascinating scraps developing in the closing stages of this race. Just a couple of laps, slightly more to come. But Stefano Camini coming back at Kevin Gleeson for the lead. Pepe Oriola challenging Gianni Morbidelli for third place. Both cars lock up slightly under braking. There's the left-hander into the tunnel. But Oriola has a relatively comfortable advantage from his teammate behind him. And I wouldn't have thought Avanasiev would challenge anyway if he was up close to the effective team leader who was leading the Drivers' Series coming here to Singapore. But also the 30 kilos of success ballast that Pepe Oriola is carrying can't be helping in that scrap. He takes a very, very wide line. That doesn't pay off. That was a psychological trick, I suspect, but when you're up against the like of Gianni Morbidelli, those psychological tricks don't work, I'm afraid. We're on lap 10. So Gleeson still leads. The gap between Gleeson and Camini, 7/10ths of a second. Morbidelli holding off Pepe Oriola. 3/10ths between those two. Avanasiev in 5th place, Genet 6th, Grachov 7th, Valia 8th, Hazemans 9th, Monge 10th, and in the last of the point-scoring places, with what? Nearly 13 seconds covering the top 8, as you can see from that graphic. But Gleeson at the moment still holding off Camini, Morbidelli still holding off Oriola. And that, barring any errors from Gleeson and Morbidelli, is, I suspect, how it'll finish. Morbidelli almost brushing the wall. But I suspect as we concentrate on the battle, as they head to turn 13, this very tight left-hand hairpin onto the back straight. I was going to talk about Rangoni in the Subaru, who is now up to 14th place, and the team having worked to get the car ready, and the disappointment of the transport situation, they must just be relieved to get the car around, and the debrief afterwards as to changes they can make to the car, ready for race 2 tomorrow, where could Rangoni finish in the points in the Subaru for the first time after no testing, no real look at this circuit, remember. A handful of corners now remain. Kevin Gleeson, can he take his 2nd win of the year? He won in Salzburgring in Austria. This will do his championship ambitions no harm at all, but a decent fistful of points for Camini and Morbidelli. Also on the cards, around comes Gleeson to take the checkered flag. He will be absolutely delighted. This very likeable young American takes his 2nd win of the year ahead of Stefano Camini. Gianni Morbidelli holds on for 3rd. Pepe Oriola 4th. Sergei Avanasiev 5th. Jordi Genet 6th. Then looking down the order, it's Grachov who finishes 7th. Valia 8th. Hazemans 9th. And there in the background is Fernando Monge, who finishes 10th ahead of René Munich. It'll be Thomas Engström, who's 12th in the other Volkswagen Golf. Galeana in his TCR debut 13th. And Luca Rangoni, who'd have said it, 14th in the Subaru. And the top run guys in the paddock must be absolutely delighted. Probably on a par with the West Coast Racing team, who probably thought that Stefano Camini would be off into the distance. There is Luca Rangoni in that very pretty Subaru. It must almost be like winning the race, getting it back to the finish after the suspicions of would it run, would things fall off, to the team's credit. And in fact, in he comes. So will he even take the checkered flag? Kevin Gleeson, hand out of the window, punching the air. And also the window open, getting some fresh air into the car after 10 very close, very exciting, very hot laps for Kevin Gleeson. But Gleeson, who qualified on pole position right back at the very first race meeting of the year in Sepang in Malaysia. Pole position again in, I'm trying to think back, it was the Salzburg Ring, converted that pole position into a win in race 2. But he must be ever so slightly surprised, having seen Stefano Camini head off into the distance in the first half of the race, effectively. The gap over 2 seconds for several laps, but Kevin Gleeson, having powered past, going down the start-finish straight, and so takes the victory for West Coast Racing. The Yas team will be watching back in Italy. 5 of their cars here in Singapore this weekend, 3 being run by West Coast Racing and 2 being run by the Prince Racing team from Hong Kong in TCR Asia. We'll hear from Kevin Gleeson when he comes into the pits, but there is our race, our second place man, I was going to say. Stefano Camini shaking his head, so frustration, I'm sure, from Stefano Camini. There is our third placed finisher, Gianni Morbidelli. Okay, let's confirm the results for you then from this round 17 of the TCR International Series. Kevin Gleeson from the United States wins for the West Coast Racing team in that Honda Civic, ahead of Stefano Camini in the Seat, Gianni Morbidelli third, Pepe Oriola fourth, Sergei Avanasiev fifth, Jordi Janay sixth, Mikhail Grachov seventh, Lorenzo Vaglia eighth, Loris Hezemans ninth, and Fernando Monge 10th. René Munich and Thomas Engstrom finish outside the points in 11th and 12th respectively. Then it's Rafael Galeana in the Seat from Target Competition. Then the first of the TCR Asia cars, Michael Choi, car number 68, the Prince Racing Honda Civic. Then Luca Rangoni in the Subaru 15th, ahead of Messrs. Yu, Chan and Gu from the TCR Asia entries. And 4 non-finishers. And the trio is complete in the pit lane. In comes Kevin Gleeson, who I suspect will be absolutely delighted. You can see, punching the air, just sitting in the car, unable to believe that result. And already out of the car, in the unfamiliar white overalls, normally in black overalls, Gianni Morbidelli. The cheering greets Kevin Gleeson. And there are the team, his engineers and mechanics from West Coast Racing. Well done. James Nixon in the background, team manager. There is Gregor Peterson, and I suspect Dick Johnson from West Coast in Sweden there as well. I know he's definitely here. There is Dick Johnson with the glasses very briefly in the back of shot. A very low-key Gianni Morbidelli, and you have to say from his body language that he doesn't look particularly well. I don't think he's been sleeping from what he's been saying. And congratulations for our race winner from Stefano Camini. I suspect he'll be frustrated with that second place, but considering just a matter of weeks ago he didn't have the budget to finish the season, he was resorting to crowdfunding and selling limited edition t-shirts to try and get the budget together to compete in what are 3 very expensive rounds. The final 3 rounds of the series, all in the Far East, following the 2 races here in Singapore. The TCR International Series goes to Buriram in Thailand next month, and then it's Macau in November. But Kevin Gleeson, car number 24, the West Coast Racing Honda Civic, that'll be a moment that he'll treasure. I know his parents follow his racing activities with interest. If they're watching back home in Pennsylvania in the USA, your boy did good. Look at that smile. Congratulations for Kevin from Gianni. Talking to Gianni yesterday about the myth that the Honda has the strongest engine of the cars, and so a circuit that should suit the Hondas. He said, no, absolutely not. That's a myth being put around by other teams. The nighttime sky of Singapore, the lights twinkling down on this brightly floodlit circuit. There you see in the foreground the Singapore Cricket Ground, and that's the venue for some of the concerts that are taking place here as part of the weekend of entertainment. And the lights of the Singapore Eye twinkle in the night sky. So we're waiting for the drivers to make it out onto the podium.
So we wait for the podium presentation. Thanks very much, beautiful and excellent inside the commentary for the TCR races.
There, the team management from Target Competition with their counterparts from West Coast in the background, gathering underneath the podium alongside their cars. There come the drivers, being greeted by the ladies from Singapore Airlines. They make their way through to hopefully grab some water and cold towels. Indeed they do. So what does that mean for the Drivers' Championship? Kamini still leads. He's opened up that gap now to 8 points over Oriola. Janae still third, but 4 points now separate Janae from Morbidelli, and Gleeson now on 191 points. So what's that? 55 points the gap now from first, from Kamini back to Kevin Gleeson.
Well done to Kevin Gleeson on his second win of the year. The trophies are presented to the drivers by Wong Weng Lam, representative of the Cali Group. So the trophy presented to Kevin Gleeson. Well done to him. And now Wong Weng Lam will present the trophy to the second place driver, Stefano Kamini. And now to the third place driver, Gianni Morbidelli. And now the trophy to the winning team, West Coast Racing. The trophy presented by Li Jib Jie. Well done to West Coast Racing.
With these drivers, let's have a word with these drivers. If you'd like to come down, I can't come up there. Kevin, congratulations to you. Well done. That was almost a present from Stefano, wasn't it? All of a sudden, there you were, disputing the lead.
Yeah, I guess Stefano had a bit of an electrical moment there, and luckily we were sitting P2, and we put ourselves in a position to be able to benefit from someone else's mistake or issue, and luckily we were able to.
Well done, congratulations. Stefano, what happened?
I don't know. I don't know. It was a perfect race. And after was a disaster. It was really a disaster. I had some electric problem on the car, and I needed to do a reset, and I lost the first position, but it's not so bad for the championship.
Exactly, you're in the lead of the championship. And Gianni, great to see you on the podium again. Congratulations. First of all, you were attacking, and then you were being attacked. You had everything in that race.
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't feel very well. I'm sick, and I really struggling a lot. I was in trouble in the end of the race, really. I cannot breathe, and it was very tough for me, but I couldn't make any way better than that. So finishing the podium is also a good result.
Go and have an early night then, and we look forward to seeing you all tomorrow. Thank you very much, guys, for a great race. See you tomorrow. Thank you very much.
Thanks to Bob Constanduros for looking after proceedings on the podium, and an emotional Kevin Gleeson standing to the sounds of the Stars and Stripes, the Star-Spangled Banner, the anthem of the United States of America, and a few moist eyes in the team as well, it would appear. Kevin, 2 pole positions and now 2 wins this year. The win here in race 1 in Singapore going along with his win in Salzburg. That's it for round 17 of the TCR International Series. We'll see you again tomorrow.
Gearbox.